ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
This is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Frank Morano. Believe it or not, yesterday was the 4-year anniversary of this program. It's been, I guess, about 2.5, 3 years since we've been in national syndication, but it's been 4 years since we've been doing this overnight program, and we've been very, very lucky to be doing very well ratings-wise, and we've developed a very, very loyal audience in that time. But I have to tell you, in looking back over what we've done over the last 4 years, one of the things that I'm proudest of is not necessarily the ratings that we've been able to garner, not necessarily any of the clever things that I've been able to say or anything along those lines. It really has been being able to give a platform to people that I think deserve to be heard. Not always people that I agree with, and not always people that you see on the mainstream media, but folks who I think you wouldn't otherwise get to hear, at least as often as you do, but for the fact that we have them on this program. And one of them is absolutely Jeffrey Lichtman. Jeffrey Lichtman is one of the best criminal defense attorneys in the world. That is not an exaggeration. That's not hyperbole. I've been known for both. That is neither. He's also the host of Beyond the Legal Limit, the podcast. And had he chosen years ago, he could have made a career out of talk radio and been in the coal mines of this carnival-like atmosphere like the rest of us. Something tells me he chose wisely, but he's still kind enough to come on this show and offer his 2 cents. And I've come to believe that this show would probably be more successful if we just called it The Jeffrey Lichtman Show. Very, very pleased to welcome back to The Other Side of Midnight, the one and only Jeffrey Lichtman. Hello, Jeffrey.
Hey, Frank. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is mine. All right. Want to get to as much as we can in a short amount of time. For starters, let me get your... We still have the mayor of America's largest city under indictment. You've been critical of Eric Adams as a mayor and as a person, but I know for a fact that a lot of the clients that you've had over the years aren't necessarily people that you would like as people. Size up this indictment for us, if you would. Overall, what do you think of the strength of the government's case so far?
I think it's actually pretty strong, and Adams has been revealed to be exactly what I've always thought that he was. He's obviously a low-level grifter. I mean, this is what he is. I mean, the allegations are disgusting. If you read the comments from his lawyer and you read the New York Post that's doing all that it can to prop him up, they're bashing the indictment. They've got a law professor at GW, and they've got, there was an article today besmirching the prosecutor. I think they called him a rabble-rouser and a cowboy. I mean, just ridiculous, desperate attempts to try to prop up Adams. The case, in my mind, if he wasn't the mayor, it's a slam-dunk conviction. He'd be convicted in 2 minutes. The difference is because he's the mayor, as you know, politicians sort of get a major benefit of the doubt that average defendants don't get. In addition, because people that are going to be on his jury very possibly voted for him.
Right.
Maybe most of them voted for him. Probably most, 10 out of the 12 voted for him. So he's going to certainly get a very good opportunity to at least get a hung jury. I would say that a conviction is certainly not a guarantee here.
My read on it, and obviously I'm not an attorney, but I've seen a number of criminal trials and seen a number of indictments, is that there really are sort of 2 different cases here. One is kind of small and silly, and that's where he's supposedly a wholly owned subsidiary of the Turkish government because he got plane upgrades and nice hotel rooms, which strikes me honestly as pretty minor. The other that I look at as much more significant is this incredible money laundering scheme to funnel foreign money into his election and then use straw donors and get the taxpayers to match it 8-1. Now, I don't see how you get around that.
Well, those are part and parcel. Both cases that you described, so to speak, are all a result of him being owned by the Turkish government. And keep in mind, the Turkish government, this isn't like Canada. This is a Muslim terror state whose
right.
dictator
right.
protects Hamas, gives them money, is a very close confidant to Putin. I mean, this is not a friendly country, Turkey. They're an ally, so to speak, that they're in NATO, but they are absolutely a Muslim terror state. I mean, they're threatening Israel for an invasion, and the fact that Adams is doing things for them is just so repugnant. I mean, this isn't like a regular defendant, Frank. This is a guy that's the mayor of the largest city in the world. He's got some real personal obligation as taking that job is to try to not be a criminal. And it's not like just stuff that happened recently. I mean, his love affair with Turkey, where they were giving him perks, where they owned him, where they're helping him raise money. And as you said, with the 8-to-1 matching, this is going back to when he was Brooklyn Borough President.
Right.
This is 10 years ago that this guy's been engaging. And even after he gets elected, it's not enough for him to stop his criminal behavior. He has to continue it all the way up to raising funds for his next election. I mean, it's really disgusting. And if you add, you mentioned the fact that it was the matching funds that he stole by using the straw donors, raising money from foreign nationals, from Turkey, and then making it appear as if American citizens or green card holders were actually making the contributions. How about the fact that he passed a Turkish-owned building in Manhattan that had all sorts of, I think, 60 different safety code violations. They didn't even have the sprinkler system up in case there's a fire, and the fire department was forced to let that building open, even though they said, look, this is a completely unsafe building. The people inside are in danger, but if we don't do what Adams said, we're going to be fired. I mean, it's all there in black and white. So not only did he sell out New York City to a foreign, really a hostile government in Turkey, but he put New Yorkers in danger with this building. I mean, it's just almost beyond belief what a lowlife he is. But frankly, if you listen to my podcast, Frank, you know what I think of him. I mean, this is exactly what I expected of him. He's a scumbag, low-level grifter, and that's what he is. What a shock.
At 30 minutes after the hour, this is The Other Side of Midnight. My guest is criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Lichtman. You can check out his podcast, Beyond the Legal Limit, wherever podcasts are available. So given what you said, let me get you to put the defense lawyer's cap on. Let's say you were representing him here. What would you be trying to do? Would you be using your reputation and the fact that he got 70% of the vote in order to get a generous plea deal? Would you be going with the two strategies that he seems to be going with, which is A, racial harmony, and B, the powers that be are out to get me, which sometimes work, as we saw with the Menendez story? Or would you be doing something else?
It's not going to work that they're out to get him. I mean, they've been investigating this guy well before he complained about Biden's immigration failures. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. I understand why he wants to say it, because he can pretend that the American government is after him, the Justice Department is after him, but he's been stealing for a long time. And listen, Frank, let me tell you one other thing that's interesting. It's someone who claims that he's law and order, Eric Adams. I always felt that it was bizarre that he allowed the Hamas and Hezbollah terrorizing of New York City. I mean, they're writing "Kill the Jews" on buildings on Park Avenue, and the city's not even cleaning it up. I mean, the residents have to clean it up themselves. Every day there's another riot. There's violence. People are being threatened. They're walking around carrying Hezbollah and Hamas flags. Well, you know which country in the Middle East is probably the biggest supporter of Hamas?
Right, Turkey.
Yeah. And wouldn't you know that Eric Adams is completely hands-off when it comes to Hamas terrorizing our city? It makes no sense, because you know that he's law and order, and I think everybody felt the same way. Like, dude, you're law and order. Why aren't you stopping this? Well, now we know why.
That's such a good point. And I hadn't thought of that. That is a good one. Really interesting. What about what the Supreme Court has done with respect to bribery? It started with the McDonald case in Virginia, but even the more recent case involving the politician from Indiana, it seems like the Supreme Court has made it more and more difficult for bribery of a politician to be upheld on appeal. Does that play a role here in this case at all?
Well, I think they were careful the way they charged it. You have to show an actual quid pro quo. They can't just ask Adams to do a favor and then they pay him, after. It's got to be this money or this whatever it is, this favor that they're doing for Adams. It has to be in exchange for the thing that Adams is doing for them. And I think it's there, with regard to the official act that has to be is with regard to the Turkish building by letting it open when it shouldn't be open. I mean, I don't think this is a great case for Adams, though I think, if I was a defense lawyer, I think this is a case you got a very decent chance to get a hung jury. I mean, it certainly is not a hard trial in terms of as a defense as it is for the great majority of the trials that I have. I mean, I would consider this probably one of the easier ones to get a positive outcome, just because you've got a defendant who at least somebody in the jury is going to want to, save.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I saw a day or two ago that two of the people that, as of now, I don't believe are charged, but seem probably poised to be charged at any moment, got married. The Chancellor of Schools, David Banks, and his girlfriend, Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright, have gotten married. They've tied the knot. They've been a couple for a while. Help us separate what's in the movies from reality. And if people are just tuning in, I'm Frank Morano. This is The Other Side of Midnight. My guest is Jeffrey Lichtman. Does this mean that they won't be able to testify against one another at the trial? And if that's not the case, would there be any sort of legal advantage to the two of them getting married here?
No, you called it. That's exactly the point, is that them getting married and the reason why they get married. I mean, look, everybody around Adams is a crook. It's been fairly evident since day one that he doesn't surround himself with anybody but criminals like him. And they got married, obviously, because they wanted to prevent one of them getting a subpoena to potentially having to testify against each other. But even beyond that, look at the obstruction of justice that he did. Now, this is an important point. I'm going to talk about this in my podcast that'll be out tomorrow morning. But this is something that I'm sure you haven't thought of, Frank. With regard to the obstruction, and I'm talking about him telling his aides to lie to the FBI. He has one of his aides deleting messages while she's in the middle of being questioned by the FBI. She runs to the bathroom. But then they catch Adams, and they ask him for his phones. And, Adams, over the last year, I don't know that I'm being investigated, but whatever I'm asked to do, I do. I abide by the law. I'm all law and order. Meanwhile, it couldn't be further from the truth. They see the guy and they're like, give us your personal phone. And somehow Eric Adams, knowing that he's about to be indicted, doesn't have his personal phone with him that day. And they say, well, then fine, give us your work phones. And here's a subpoena for your personal phone. Bring it tomorrow. So the next day, he's represented by counsel. The next day, he brings his phone, but wouldn't you know, it's locked. And they say, well, can we have the password? Because, you're all about law and order, and you're all about, doing whatever we ask of you because you're Mr. Mayor Law and Order. Well, I changed the password yesterday after you told me you wanted the phone, because I was concerned. I'm such a law and order guy. I was concerned that my staff might delete some of the material that you wanted, so I changed the password to prevent that from happening. Okay, great. Can we get your password? I forgot it. This is so craven and so repulsive. And here's the point that I was going to make. When he gets arraigned, now, this is a guy that's all over the indictment, that he's having his aides lie to the FBI. They're deleting evidence. He's locking his phone and not get all sorts of obstructive behavior. When he gets in front of the judge, the prosecutors don't even ask for his passport to be surrendered. They don't ask for any bail at all. They don't ask for anything. They don't want anything for bail. They simply want him to just be arraigned, and they release him. He can do whatever the hell he wants, even though he was involved in significant obstructive behavior. Now, compare that to Sean Combs.
Right.
Sean Combs is prosecuted by the same office, and a few days before also gets arraigned. But they want him detained. Why?
In fairness, though, Jeffrey, isn't Sean Combs in a bit of a different position than Eric Adams?
Well, I'm just talking with regard to the bail issue. Mm-hmm. With regard to risk of flight, danger to the community, and obstructive behavior. Nobody thought that Sean Combs was going anywhere. He's not going to run. In terms of danger to the community, the way that he was ultimately detained was because of his obstructive behavior. Why? He was calling up women that were purportedly forced to have sex at these sex parties. He wasn't threatening them. He was saying, come on, and he was gaslighting them. You know that it was consensual. That's what the government was claiming. So for that, the guy gets detained. But Eric Adams, who hands over a phone, locks it against the government's wishes, has his aides deleting messages between them, has his aides lie. For some reason, he gets to be out. He's probably in the club right now. He's probably got his jewelry in each ear, and he's at the club, and he's dancing, he's bopping, he's weaving, whatever the F it is that he does at the club. And Sean Combs is rotting in jail right now.
Duly noted. Duly noted. I want to run through a couple different aspects of this case, and then I want to pick your brain on one or two other issues in the news. One, you know every criminal defense attorney in New York that's worth having. What can you tell folks about Eric Adams' criminal defense attorneys as best you know them? Is this a good team he's got around him?
If you're having problems with your septic system and you're tired of spending so much money each year to have it pumped, then SeptiClean is the answer for you. SeptiClean is an advanced specially formulated blend of bacteria used in the treatment of home and commercial septic systems. The breakdown of waste in your system relies on biological activity of naturally occurring bacteria. SeptiClean restores the natural biological process in your septic system and boosts the existing biological activity. SeptiClean is completely safe on all plumbing and can help prevent expensive emergencies in pumping. SeptiClean has approximately 6 to 100 times the bacteria count of other leading off-the-shelf brands in a 1-year supply. SeptiClean comes in a water-soluble pack, which you flush down the toilet once a month with no mess or stress. Save time, money, and maintenance on your septic system. Find SeptiClean at Emporium True Value Hardware on Main Street in Sag Harbor or visit micro-tab.com. That's micro-tabb.com. Micro-tabb.com.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes.
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz.
Spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
Well, he's got Alex Spiro, who I don't know that he's ever cross-examined anybody in a federal criminal case. Sometimes lawyers get reputations not based on reality, but based on other things. He's a young guy. I was a little bit repulsed by, as I said, the hack job that was done on the prosecutor today in the Post. That was certainly coming from Eric Adams' camp. I don't do that stuff. I mean, listen, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to manipulate the press to help my client. I did it all the time. I certainly did it during the Gotti case. But I'm not attacking a prosecutor in print. It's a scummy move. It's a low-life move. You know what? You can win the case, win the case. You don't have to attack the guy personally in the media. It's not right. I didn't think that was right. I think the other lawyers that he has on his case are experienced. They're former federal prosecutors from that office, from the Southern District, and they're good lawyers. He's got Boyd Johnson. These are good prosecutors, and I think he's got a decent chance. As I said, I don't think this is a slam dunk conviction because of who he is. So I think he's probably got a 50-50 for a jury. Certainly not getting acquitted.
In terms of one of the things that we've heard from Adams is that it's not just Turkey. There's been speculation that he's done favors in exchange for favors for the governments of Azerbaijan, even China. There's even rumors that there's an ongoing criminal probe from the Eastern District. Do you think it's likely that we could see additional criminal indictments maybe from the Eastern District?
I certainly think it's possible. I mean, you can tell if you read the indictment that even after he knew he was under investigation, he was still involved in these shenanigans. The guy clearly has no problem at all, no moral compunction to stop from committing crimes. It's certainly possible. I mean, look, everybody that was around him was a criminal. He was friends with that Bishop, Lamar, whatever his name was. I mean, he's got all sorts of fraudsters that he hangs out with, and he always says, well, people deserve a second chance. He's saying these things while he was breaking the law pretty blatantly. And I understand why the Post, a conservative newspaper, feels the need to carry his water.
They don't want Jumaane Williams. I mean, I understand it as well.
Jumaane Williams, who's a communist. I mean, they don't want to listen. It doesn't make a difference. If Eric Adams' career is over. I mean, he is done as mayor. The next mayor of New York City is going to be so far left. I mean, literally, it's going to be some kind of like mental patient, a far left mental. This is what New York City deserves. I'm all for it. I think it's wonderful. I mean, if Eric Adams is selling out the city to Turkey, really, respectfully, how much worse can you get, Frank?
Jeffrey, this is less a legal question and more a public relations and a strategy question. You've been friendly from time to time with Al Sharpton. You've done some legal work for the National Action Network and represented some very close members of Al Sharpton's entourage on some very serious charges. Sharpton came out over the weekend and almost, I think, withdrew the arrow that I thought was most likely to be shot, which was that of Kathy Hochul removing Adams from office. Sharpton proactively said, she better not do that. She better not do that before he's convicted of anything. How difficult do you think it's going to be for Hochul to remove Adams now that Sharpton is openly asking her not to?
I don't think she would do it regardless. I mean, look, Kathy Hochul is just such a pathetic politician. I mean, look what happened with the congestion pricing. I mean, God knows how many tens of millions of dollars were spent to prepare for the thing that was supposed to start an hour later, and she withdrew it because she did a poll and she thought she'd lose 9 votes. I mean, this is all she is. I mean, she's just a repulsive person. So she doesn't want to force Adams out because it'll make her look bad. And she certainly doesn't give a damn what happens to New York City. I mean, I think that's been clear. New York City's been on fire for the last year. Hochul hasn't done a single thing. So I don't know that it necessarily was because of Sharpton. And if you look at Sharpton's words, he also, I thought, came at Adams a little bit and says, don't be blaming this on the Biden-Harris administration. Obviously, Sharpton is concerned about the election coming up, and he doesn't want Adams besmirching Harris by saying, well, only because I went after the administration regarding the number of migrants that were coming into New York, and I called them out on it, and that's why I'm under indictment. He doesn't want that because it hurts Harris, and he made that very clear. That's not the reason why Adams was indicted.
I realize
it sort of cuts both ways.
I realize this is a little bit of an absurd question, at least I think it is, but it's one that people keep bringing up. You know how the talk radio audience is. Absurdity doesn't necessarily stop someone from bringing up this this article, but as someone that's familiar with both cases, I have to ask you about this. There's a whole bunch of people out there that are in some way or another, and there's varying theories on it, trying to tie the P. Diddy criminal indictment to Eric Adams. Some people saying, all Adams' problems started with Diddy, or some other version of some connection between the Combs case and the Adams case. Is there any connection whatsoever between these two cases?
You actually have listeners that think that?
Yes, I do.
Well,
and neighbors, by the way.
And neighbors. Maybe it's time for you to move and get a new job. No, that absolutely has nothing to do with each other. And look, and again, I have to say, I just for full disclosure, I represent one of Diddy's sons, Justin. So I'm not coming at this completely objectively, but respectfully, what Sean Combs did, having these sex parties and alleging to have extorted some of the women to force them to have sex and blah, 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 and all that, you can't compare in terms of the overall level of transgression. I say this respectfully because I understand the allegations against Combs are serious. But this guy's the mayor of New York City, and he sold the city out to a Muslim terror state. I mean, my God, I don't think it gets much worse than this. It's really awful behavior.
Jeffrey, we've talked before, and you've talked on your podcast about your relationship, your business relationship, and your personal relationship with the Ultimate Warrior. Everybody's talking about this Netflix documentary on Vince McMahon. I watched all 6 parts. And I think it's good. I think it's worth watching. There's some factual stuff that's in there. Obviously, the Warrior's not around to be interviewed for this anymore. Who knows if he even would have participated if he didn't. They do mention him a little bit. I don't think they spend a great deal of time with respect to how significant he was for the era in which he was a big deal. But the question I have for you is, there's about a dozen people, mostly wrestlers, superstar wrestlers, in this documentary at one point who say they view Vince like a father figure. And these are people that you can tell are being very sincere when they say that. My question for you is, 1, did the Warrior view McMahon that way? And 2, and I know your specialty is the law, not necessarily psychology, but sometimes the two are one and the same. If the answer to that question is yes, why do these guys all seem to gravitate towards Vince McMahon as a father figure?
Well, Warrior and I were very close throughout. I mean, he was the first client that I ever got on my own. This is back to 1992 when I left my first job and went to work for Jerry Shargell. He was the only client that I brought with me. I was 27 years old, and I loved the guy like a brother. I can tell you this, he hated Vince McMahon. He sued Vince McMahon. He had some incredible difficulties with Vince McMahon. He also viewed Vince McMahon as a father figure. There's not even a question in my mind that if he was here, I can hear his laugh in my head, Jim's laugh in my head. He did, and I think he doesn't mean he didn't hate him at times, but it was a love-hate situation. And I think what happened is you've got these wrestlers who oftentimes didn't grow up with a father figure. I mean, Jim, and I refer to him by his given name, not his last name, Warrior. Jim Hellwig was his name. It was his birth name. Didn't really have much of a father figure in his life growing up, and Vince was sort of a father to all these guys. Although, Vince was nuts. I mean, I have so many funny stories about Vince. I respected him a lot, even though he was absolutely insane and was capable of anything. I respected his wife even more. I mean, she was tough as nails, Linda, but a wonderful person and really competent. I mean, that's the greatest compliment that you can give somebody in my world, Frank, is you can describe them as competent. And Linda McMahon was like competent to the 1000th degree. But I mean, Vince was nuts. One day I'll write a book. I think I might have talked about it on my podcast about the time when Jim and all the wrestlers were, this was when Vince had been indicted for steroid distribution. And after that was all over, they put in this sort of like ridiculous, because this is not like a real sport. This was a business wrestling. It wasn't like Major League Baseball, where they had to have urine tests to make sure, test them for steroids. And all these guys were doing steroids anyway. And Vince would call me up and tell me when Jim's urine test was going to be, obviously, to tip him off so that he could bring some fake urine or somebody else's urine to the test. I mean, it was just hilarious stuff that was going on back then. It was decades ago, but I still laugh about it.
Today, all the Mets have to do is win one game, and they make the playoffs. Given the history of the Mets and the heartbreak that goes hand in hand with all but 2 years of that history, is there any doubt in your mind that the Mets are losing both games today?
No doubt. I mean, the fact that they could have avoided all of this by taking 2 out of 3 from the Brewers, who had nothing to play for at all. They were barely showing
incredible.
up. And the Mets didn't just get beat, Frank. I mean, they got obliterated in the first 2 games. So I fully expect them to very quickly be dispatched and lose both games. And if somehow they win a game, if lightning strikes, I expect them to be swept out of the playoffs pretty quickly.
Finally, I know you're following what's going on in the Middle East as closely as anybody. The head of Hezbollah has just been killed. Hezbollah's acknowledged it and killed at the hands of Israel. How big a deal is this? We've seen some high-profile killings of Islamists over the years. Obviously, terrorist organization leaders like Osama bin Laden, but also key figures in the Iranian government like General Soleimani. Where does the killing of the leader of Hezbollah rank in terms of the recent Islamist killings we've seen over the years?
Well, I think it's at the very, very top because it sends a message to the rest of the axis of evil, especially Iran, that Israel's intelligence is off the charts. I mean, it started with the beepers that went off. I mean, the fact that they were able to grab these beepers and stick explosives in them and then put them back into the supply chain and get them to Hezbollah, and 95% of the injuries and deaths were Hezbollah terrorist deaths. I mean, it might be the greatest, intelligence operation maybe in the history of the world. And then they followed that up the next day with their radios going off. And then the next day, they killed the number 2 guy, the guy who was responsible for the 1983 American embassy and Beirut barracks marine bombing, which killed, 300 Americans total. This is a guy who had a $7 million price tag on his head. So those were like 3 days in a row. And then a few days later, they take out Nasrallah, a guy who was, nobody's more protected than him. And they had the intelligence, the fact that they infiltrated every possible level of this incredibly disciplined Muslim terror proxy of Iran, scared the living hell out of Iran. And it really shook up the Middle East. What's disappointing to me, Frank, is that you've still got the American administration, Harris and Biden, insisting that there has to be a ceasefire. And it's so absurd. If you really care about peace in the Middle East, Frank, you've got to get rid of Hezbollah, because if there's any kind of ceasefire, all that does is allow Hezbollah to remain in power, and all they're going to do is break that ceasefire like they did on October 8th, just like Hamas did on October 7th of last year, and they're going to attack Israel again. Now that you've got Hezbollah on the ropes, the American government should be loudly supporting Israel and saying, listen, we are going to do whatever we have to do to get rid of them, because that isolates Iran. Without Hezbollah, what is there to stop Israel from simply waltzing into Iran and blowing up Iran's nuclear facilities? Instead, you've got Harris and Biden trying to hold Israel back. They're holding back information, intelligence. They're holding back weapons. I mean, it's absolutely astonishing what Israel's been able to accomplish with the American government at their throats. I mean, I'm not a Netanyahu fan. You know that if you listen to my podcast.
I know.
But let me tell you, what this guy has had to straddle, the pressure of dealing with Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and the Iraqi terror proxy and the Syrian terror proxy and the West Bank Palestinians and the American government that's at his throat, and to be able to achieve what I consider the last 10 days of Israel's actions with Hezbollah is equal to Shohei Ohtani's last 10 baseball games. I think he was like 30 for 40 with like 39 home runs. That's what I consider what Israel did. It's absolutely astonishing, and they have to be let to be able to finish Hezbollah off. Because if that happens, Frank, not only does it promote peace in the Middle East, but it allows Lebanon to no longer be occupied by Iran, by Hezbollah, who took over that country through murder and destroyed Lebanon. I mean, think how great the Middle East can be if you get rid of Hezbollah.
It's difficult to see it being worse. Jeffrey, we will continue this in our next exchange. Thank you very much. I hope people check out Beyond the Legal Limit, the podcast, and I'll be waiting for that book to come out.
Thanks so much, Frank. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. If you want to comment on any portion of our conversation, you can give me a call, 646-720-0635. That's 646-720-0635. This is The Other Side of Midnight. Straight ahead.
If you're having problems with your septic system and you're tired of spending so much money each year to have it pumped, then SeptiClean is the answer for you. SeptiClean is an advanced specially formulated blend of bacteria used in the treatment of home and commercial septic systems. The breakdown of waste in your system relies on biological activity of naturally occurring bacteria. SeptiClean restores the natural biological process in your septic system and boosts the existing biological activity. SeptiClean is completely safe on all plumbing and can help prevent expensive emergencies in pumping. SeptiClean has approximately 6 to 100 times the bacteria count of other leading off-the-shelf brands in a 1-year supply. SeptiClean comes in a water-soluble pack, which you flush down the toilet once a month with no mess or stress. Save time, money, and maintenance on your septic system. Find SeptiClean at Emporium True Value Hardware on Main Street in Sag Harbor or visit micro-tab.com. That's micro-tabb.com. Micro-tabb.com.